scheduled meeting of the mayor and city council of the city of College Park. I'm Mayor Bianca Motley Broom. It is 7:31 p.m. We have a quorum with council members Allen, Clay, and Gay. At this time, I will call the meeting to order. Our first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on our agenda is our invocation. That will be handled by Pastor Alexander this evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I greet you tonight and pray that all is well with each and every one of y'all. May we pray, please. We come together, Father, in your name. We come together tonight praying once again for our city, the city of College Park, our state, Georgia, and continue to pray for this nation as a whole. I come tonight praying, Father, for unity and wisdom. It may be upon this governing body of the city of College Park, all its employees, and upon the citizens. I pray tonight, Father, for our first responders, the law enforcement, for our firefighters and all the city personnel as they protect and work in this city, that they may return home each night daily to their families. I pray, Father, as our city leaders go through tonight's agenda, that you, Father, will store wisdom, that you will store compassion, and you will store understanding to each one of them as they will make the right decision concerning College Park. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. The next item on the agenda, additions, deletions, amendments, or changes to the agenda.
Mayor, we need to put in the fun spot. If we can put that first before we go into the presentation of minutes.
So you want to add it, essentially, we're bumping everything down a number.
Exactly.
Fun spot presentation, I believe. And is there one more issue?
Yes,
one more item?
There's one more item. It would be item 9B. And we would like the approval of an employment contract.
Okay. And that's the approval of the employment contract of the city manager?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second? Thank you, Councilman Karn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. We will hand it off to continue to Fun Spot America to do their presentation. They were the last of the three presentations in our workshop session, and we didn't have time to get to their presentation. So we want to give them the opportunity right now. Ms. Cole, do you want to make the introduction? Or I'll go ahead and make the introduction. Good evening, gentlemen from Fun Spot America. Looks like, yep, there you go. You're unmuted. All right, the floor is yours. Appreciate your time this evening.
Oh, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. We'll make this quick. We know that your time is valuable. Fun Spot America is presenting for the GICC sponsorship and the arena. Basically, to give you a quick rundown, we've been in business since 1997 here in Central Florida. We added another park in Fayetteville, just south of you all, in 2017. And we've put everything on the table that we feel is the right partnership with the city and to take over and rename the convention center. It's a $500,000 a year agreement with a 5-year term. And that term's negotiable, whatever you all would like. We're more than willing to be flexible on that. And this is to my left would be Michael Voss, who's one of our marketing team members, our senior vice president, John Chenister. But let me just explain to you real quick what Fun Spot is. We are a family-owned business. I'm the owner and the CEO. The decisions come to me. I make them. We implement them. So there's no corporations and commission based and all that. We are putting on the table what we feel is a fair deal, and we want to be a part of your partnership. We're used to working with Visit Orlando and Experience Kissimmee and Florida Citrus Sports here in Orlando. So we have done sponsorships in the past, and we believe that we can really be a partner with you, not only within your partnership, but within your community as well. And we are very community driven. We practice the golden rule through our personal life, our professional life. It is definitely near and dear to my heart. And that's, you'll see that in everything I do. And we also practice the 7 principles of love works, which we'll get into later on down the road when we get to know each other a little bit better. But I'm here to answer any questions. I think you all have seen the presentation. We don't have a long presentation because we're here to offer you money. You don't have to wait on it. We're ready to pay you, write you a check, and make the convention center the #1 convention center in Georgia and the United States. So if you have any questions, please, I'm here for you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions from the body?
I have a couple of questions.
All right, go ahead.
Thank y'all for coming out. I am familiar with you guys. My sister lives down in Fayetteville, and I've taken my children there several times when they were little. They're all grown now, and I guess I'll be taking my grandkids at this point. It's a great spot. Now, my understanding with this situation is technically the naming rights, you would be naming the sports arena complex only in name, but you reserve the naming rights to the convention center, but it would remain the GICC. Is that correct?
Yeah, it'd be the GICC partnership with Fun Spot America. And, you know, we've got logos that show, you know, our logo in GICC, or we can do GICC and Fun Spot. You know, we're open to whatever works for you all and makes sense for us as well. Right?
Well,
And thank you for coming to our parks too.
Oh yeah, well, everybody had a real good time. I've been to a couple of young kids' birthday parties of parents there as well. That was important to me because retaining the name GICC is very important in terms of marketing ourselves, and you know, being an international arena. I would rather see that name remain the same. The arena, I don't mind so much because, in a sense, I guess you could call it a fun spot. It's mostly generally for the younger generation, 40 and under, are going to be using that arena more so than folks that are 50 and over my age. It was a good proposal per se, and it kind of cuts to the chase in one sense. I worry about, I think, you know, negotiating on that amount would be something we definitely want to look at. But I worry about you guys in terms of the things you have coming up. I did some homework and saw you had a big roller coaster coming up. So, you know, let's say you're finishing up Air Force One and the price of steel doubles, and you guys are unexpectedly hit with an economic, you know, shock there. And, you know, does that hamper your efforts for each year-to-year contract of whatever amount we come up with?
Well, I appreciate your concern. And let me tell you, that coaster is not just big, it's huge. And it's going to be a world-class coaster. It's a $13 million coaster. But it is 100% built. We were just dealing with some county issues with permitting and stuff like that. There's no worries there. We're financially strong. Our 2 parks here in Central Florida are doing unbelievably well. Good Lord's blessed us. And that park, we have a lot of reserves to build on that park. We have a $75 million master plan, and we have Truist behind us on that. So I don't think the concern of the 5-year $2.5 million is of no concern. And Truist is behind us on that as well.
Well, that's good to know. You know, we've taken a look at naming rights before, and I think I was the one that led the charge in terms of turning down the last legitimate offer because I didn't think it was the right time, and I didn't think the amount of money was adequate. And personally, I didn't like the name that the convention center would have held. It wouldn't have been, I think, attractive to a lot of promoters and folks that were looking to bring their clients over. But I like what I saw in your packet, and I think that's all the questions I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Cowan. Councilman Clay?
Yeah, I'm a little confused. When we say we're selling the naming rights, you might put AT&T Arena or Verizon Arena or something like that on the arena, and they would pay us for the advertising that comes from people saying it's the Verizon Arena. So are you brokering, or are you actually proposing that it will be your name on the arena and you're paying us to put your name on the arena? Or are you planning to go further and help us operate the arena?
Oh, well, that's a very good question. We are proposing to sponsor the arena, not operate it. We're not a company that's going to go out there and try to find a company and negotiate price and everything else. We're proposing $500,000 a year to become the Fun Spot Arena, and GICC partnered with Fun Spot America as well on the arena, with renderings of, logos and stuff of that sort that'll help brand you all and us together as a partner. So we're not selling anything besides our partnership with you.
Okay, so you wouldn't be performing any Fun Spot activities
No.
in the arena. For example, you wouldn't have go-kart weekend.
That sounds like fun, but no, we would not be having any roller coasters around the outside or go-karts inside or any of that sort.
Okay, so the distinction I would make between the three presentations that we have seen is that the first two, we're going to look for someone to put their name on the arena or NGICC. But you're actually saying, here we are. We want to put our name on the arena.
You got it. You got it. That's
Okay.
it. And I write the checks. I'm the one that's in charge. So yeah, we're it's two totally different companies. We're the company that wants to give you the money and be a partner.
Any other questions, Councilman Clay?
That answers it.
All right. Any other questions for Fun Spot America? Hearing none. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time.
Mayor. Y'all have a great evening.
You
Thank you,
too.
Mayor
Take
and
care.
Council, for making a change in the agenda schedule to accommodate the presentation.
Appreciate your willingness to bring everyone to the table, and thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
All right. The next item on the agenda, item 3A, regular session, approval of the regular session minutes from January 4th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor? Councilman Carn, you are muted.
I motion with a few corrections.
Okay. All right. Well,
Sorry.
all right. So we've got Clay and Allen in the motion, but we got some corrections. All right. Go right ahead.
Okay, real quick, packet page 11, line 187. That's behind Nouveau Restaurant, not New Hope Restaurant.
And that changes. I submitted that to
Okay.
Gabrielle, and I think she made it. Is that true, Gabriel? I mean,
I was gonna say, I'm not sure Ms. Thornton's on the call.
Yeah, but she made that change.
Okay. And Ambrose, you might have called all of these already, but packet page 35, line 286. But I would like some wording in there instead of C. And also on that same page, line 13, 17, I think they both need to be in that language as opposed to the language. And I think I had one more that I saw here. Okay. Packet page 42, line 1605, where it says on this side, you can remove Camp Creek. It was just on this side of Herschel Road. And the last change is on that same page, line 1638, bottom of Metro's health rankings. That's rankings as opposed to ratings. And that's all I had.
Any
Yeah.
other?
I just had a couple.
can I
Ho-
jump in on one thing that Joe just said? where you talked about Herschel Road, it was on Herschel Road on this side of Camp Creek, as opposed to on Herschel Road on the south side of Camp Creek. Is that correct?
Well, that's where I was referring to, but the audio, it says on this side of Herschel Road. And I didn't mention Camp Creek apparently in the audio when I listened to it.
But what did you mean?
Whoa. But it's what
yeah.
he said.
Yeah.
What he said.
Yeah, but Ambrose, I did mean the Camp Creek, but that's the word in Camp Creek wasn't in there. But yeah, that's what I guess that's what I meant.
May I offer a suggestion?
The Herschel Road side of Camp Creek. That's what.
Okay.
Yeah.
May I offer a suggestion?
Mhm.
That state it the way it was said, but put in brackets, as is frequently done in the newspaper, what was the intent that was left out.
I'm fine with that.
Wait, hold on a second, gentlemen. The
That-
minutes
that-
are
that-
the
yeah.
minutes are the minutes. And if you want to say in this meeting what you intended to say in the last meeting, I think that's something that we can discuss. But I mean, if the audio says what Councilman Karn is saying that the audio says,
It does, but I'm fine with clarifying it in that manner. But the audio did not say Camp Creek, but this does clarify which side of Herschel, which side of Camp Creek. So that does clarify. So if we can do it in the brackets, that'd be fine with me.
in the minutes from last meeting, or do you want to just make a clarification in this meeting?
Well, just a clarification, whichever is easiest.
I
But we can
think
put
it'd
it- we
probably
can
be
put it in
cleaner if we
brackets.
make a clarification in this meeting.
Okay, well, we make it clear and put it in brackets, whatever's required.
Okay.
That people can understand.
So
what
Councilman
side-
Karn, let's lay it out. So when you had the opportunity, I think you were responding to Councilman Clay's portion of the report of mayor and council. You said, what did you say? I want to make sure that's clear.
Okay, what are you asking me now?
I'm asking you what you actually said based upon the audio
On this side of Herschel Road.
on this side of
The
Herschel.
audio,
And
but
what was your
but to
intent?
clarify it, that side of the Camp Creek side of Herschel, that side of Herschel Road. Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
So that's your intent, but we do need to have the minutes reflect what you actually
Understood.
said. Okay.
I got it. But
So
I would
everybody
like-
else clear on that as well? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, that's fine, the exact wording. But I do want to clarify that as Ambrose suggested, so we can add it in brackets or whatever is necessary to clear that up.
I think the cleanest way to do that is in this meeting, not altering the minutes from the meeting prior.
That's fine, no problem.
Okay.
Either
All
way,
Okay.
it's fine with me.
All right.
Okay,
With that understanding, Councilman Allen, you have a couple of changes
I
as well.
just had a couple, on page 11, packet page 11, 184. Director of Economic Development, Artie Jones, said there are two items I confused. I think he said I was, but if you just check and see on that one. The other one is on packet page 24, line 801, where Division Chief Ron Taylor said, we implemented phases 1, 2, and 2 of remote. I think he said 3, 1, 2, and 3 of remote, and we're in phase 2 now. So just check and make sure that that's what that says. That's all. That's all I had.
All right. Madam Clerk, you're on that. You get back to us on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Any other changes to those regular session minutes from January 4th? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor with the changes? Councilman Carn, you're muted.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I heard all four of you there, gentlemen. Thank you. That is unanimous. Item 3B is a workshop session from January 4th, 2022.
Move to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
I heard all 4 of you there as well. Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. Item 3C, special called meeting from January 5th, 2022. I saw a change there. The meeting adjourned at PM, not AM, on line 27. Is there a motion to approve with that
So
change?
moved.
All right.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Carn. Clay and Carn. Clay made the motion. Carn made the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was also unanimous. Heard all 4 of you. Item 3D, special called meeting minutes from January 11th, 2022.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous as well. Proclamations, resolutions, plaques, and announcements. I don't believe we have any this evening, do we?
No, ma'am, we do
I
not.
did not think so. So we're moving to item number 5, remarks of citizens. Ms. Moore.
I have no remarks that were emailed in, Mayor.
All right, thank you. If anyone who is on our call or would wish to speak for 1 minute, you may have that opportunity at this time. Ms. Moore, can you tell them how they can log on?
Yes, ma'am. They can visit www.collegeparkga.com. In the top green of the website, you're going to click on government, scroll down to council meetings, click on that. In the middle of the page, there's a link to this meeting. Once you click that link and you're in this meeting, you will raise your hand to be acknowledged and you can speak for 1 minute.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. All right. If you wish to speak at this time, you can go ahead and click that raise hand button. Mr. Hicks, I don't see anyone who has their hand raised right now.
No, ma'am, I'm looking. No one as of yet.
All right. We'll give them a few more moments here before we move forward. All right, we will go right ahead and move on to item number 6, annual appointments. I believe there is a Ward 2 appointment on the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Yeah, this is one of my remaining appointments here. Miss Shawn Neeson, one of our hardworking public school teachers. It's funny, she taught at the school my girls went to when they were little, when I lived over at Lakemont at Brookview Elementary, and now she's over at Banneker High School, still in the community, which is a big deal for me. So I think she's going to do a good job for us.
Great. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
I heard all 4 of you there, gentlemen. That is unanimous. Thank you. And Councilman Gay, I believe there's an appointments for Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals.
Yes, just the board appointment for Planning Commission.
Okay.
Now, the BZA is a separate board, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. City Manager, can you read that for me?
Yes, sir, I can. His
Thank you.
name is Peter Lee Tong. He lives at 4156 Williamsburg Drive. He is an Asian American educator, real estate investor under age 40, and a Ward 4 resident since 2019.
Thank you.
All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Carn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Heard all 4 of you there as well. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to item 7A, consideration of an action on a request from Emily Hackshaw of Georgia Public Broadcasting to host a Georgia Pollinators Field Day event. This one-time special event is to be held on Saturday, March 19th, 2022 from 9 to 4. Who's going to be presenting this? Is it Ms. Hackshaw or someone else?
I can begin. I believe Ms. Hackshaw is on. Mr. Hicks, if you do see that person, could you let them in? Emily with an E, M-M-A-L-E-E, Hackshaw. But we were approached to have this as a special event over at the auditorium, outdoor to come out in March and do this as a partnership with the City of College Park. And they are on the call if there's any questions for them.
Any
Okay.
questions?
Ms. Hackshaw has been moved.
I just have a comment. It would be good if we let the schools know so they could join in on this event, you know, whether it be the elementary school or Woodward or any of the other schools around. I think it's a good program, and they might be interested in having some of the kids come up there.
I think it's a great point, Councilman Allen.
If she's on the call, I would like for her to just briefly tell us a little bit about the event. I support it. I'm just curious to know what's going on.
Ms. Hackshaw?
Sure. Hello. Thank you so much for having me and for allowing me to speak. Georgia Public Broadcasting is partnering with the Atlanta Science Festival to host a Georgia Pollinator Field Day event. And we are hoping to do so on the City Auditorium lawn in College Park on March 19th. This would be free and open to the public. We will be asking people to register in advance so as to maintain some control over number of attendance. And it will be advertised, it'll be promoted across all of our Georgia Public Broadcasting platforms, including television across the state, radio across the state, social media. It will also be promoted by the Atlanta Science Festival, which is a 2-week series of events throughout the metropolitan area, the majority of which are free. And so this would be one of several hundred events that are offered through the Atlanta Science Festival.
Any questions for Ms. Hackshaw?
I just have a comment. I am a great fan of Georgia Public Broadcasting, and it is really good to see an event like this coming to the South Side, and even better to see it in College Park. So I look forward to this event. I'll try to pop in. I won't register, but I'll try to pop in. It happens to be in my ward, and I will hope that it'll lead to other similar events and other partnerships with Georgia Public Broadcasting.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, I'm glad to see you guys coming. My wife is a huge fan of Georgia Public Broadcasting. That's just about the only channel she watches, that and PBS. I will definitely be there as well, but I want us to make it a point to really try to market and promote these types of things when they come in. You know, we used to be able to somehow get the press down here when we need them for certain stuff like this. And I think this is the type of feel-good event that we want to get some additional press down here as well. So let's put an all-out effort to make sure we broadcast this type of thing. You know, it goes with this Keep College Park Beautiful theme and everything else. So I want us to make sure we make a big deal out of this thing. And we definitely want you guys to come back with some more events in the future.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Carn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Hackshaw. We look forward to it.
Thank you.
Item 7B, consideration of an action on a request to place the name of the late Mayor Jack P. Longino on the City Hall building. Ms. Moore, I'm sorry, Ms. Miller.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. When we had the discussion originally, it was to put the late mayor's name on the building. I brought forth the sign and how we would improve the sign. The sign has been done, but it was brought to my attention that that some of the members thought that we should put it on the building. So I brought it back for you all to have a discussion about putting it on the building. Don't know if we can afford it right now, but I do want to make sure that if you want it done, that we can budget it and get it in place.
Thoughts of the body?
I know I brought this up with Mercedes when I was aware of it, and There are a couple of things that I would say that I won't say, but I will say this. Me personally, I was a little bit disappointed in how we did that. Now, we don't always do things perfectly. No city does. But when you dedicate a building to someone, you dedicate a building to someone, and that does not mean just a sign. This building has 2 entrances. The public uses both entrances. And I would hope we would be able to put a name on both entrances of this building. And furthermore, when you dedicate a building, there's generally a commemorative plaque on the inside of that building as well, to commemorate the naming of that building in our lobby, along with the other signage. So my thing is, if we're going to do this, I think we ought to do it right, regardless of, how anybody felt about Jack or politics or whatever have you. You got to give credit where credit is due. And I think any of us, if we're going to serve in this city for years and a future mayor be honored for them leading this city, I would expect that mayor would want to be properly honored and not shortchanged at all, any more than we shortchanged any other naming of a building. So I just want to say that, and let's do it the right way.
I have a question.
Councilman Gay, go right ahead.
Does that mean we take his name off the sign?
No, sir.
We're gonna have it on 2 places?
Well,
I think 3.
3,
Huh?
for 3 places based on Councilman Carnes.
Well, and that's just my suggestion now. And that's my thought. Now, if we only have it on one side of the building, and that's fine, well and good, but I don't think this is something that cost is going to should come into consideration with this type of stuff, in my opinion. Now, unless it's going to be some outrageous amount, but
I agree. I think we need to do it, on the building as well. I think after we look at the cost, we might have to put it in next year's budget, but I think it needs to be done. And when we do it, we need to make sure we do it right. So.
All right.
Yeah,
So-
I have to agree with both Councilman Carn and Councilman Allen. My idea, when council approved it last year to name the building, would be that there would be some kind of marking on the building itself that conveys the building's going to be here for a long time, and something that conveys the sort of permanence that Jack dedicated to the city. Whether you agree on all the decisions that he made, Lord knows I don't agree with every decision that we make on a weekly basis. But he contributed 28 years of leadership to the city, 24 of which were mayor. And I think it is appropriate that that degree of permanence and longevity is better conveyed by putting something on the building itself. And to Joe's point, whether a commemorative plaque be put inside or not, that's another issue. But it is the building, and it is permanent, and it is longevity. And I think it's appropriate that it be done that way. And I think we just need to do it right.
So at this point, I hear consensus from the body on this particular issue. If Ms. Miller, you can get some pricing and then come back to the body. Does that make sense, everybody?
We
Yep.
will. Okay.
All right. Item 7C and 7D, discussion and update on the top 10 delinquent utility customer accounts and the top 10 delinquent property taxpayers. Any questions for Ms. Floyd Bradley?
I got my questions answered, Mayor, and I understand you guys have been understaffed and that you are going to resume enforcing our policy on utilities. Correct, Althea?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay, so that's going to start when?
February, we will begin sending out the notices late January, sometime next week, and we will resume disconnections beginning in February.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Fleur Bradley? Hearing none, we'll go ahead to item 7E. Mayor and council consideration and transferring city property to the College Park Business and Industrial Development Authority. Mr. Jones?
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
On this evening, staff requests that the City Council authorize a resolution to abandon all municipal roadways for privatization and development. This particular area is located within the 6 West development. The 56 acres within the 6 West development is currently under contract. Currently, there is I know that the map that is a part of the existing resolution is really hard to read, but there is a new map that is currently being developed right now by Prime Engineering. It will replace the one that is actually in the resolution.
Questions for Mr. Jones?
I'm going to move to approve. I'm sorry, Joe.
Okay.
Second
Okay.
with a little discussion.
All right.
Yes,
So there's a motion by Councilman Clay, a second by Councilman Carn. Go right ahead, Councilman Carn.
Artie, so I'm still, getting caught up to speed with some of this stuff. I know we sat down briefly about the progress at 6 West. So this is the piece that was contingent upon the completion of the road work. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Exactly how much are we selling this land to this outfit for?
The property is under contract for approximately $8 million.
8 million. Okay. And the road work piece. So once, I guess we've committed to the road work piece, obviously, and this is going to commence. And how long before they have something coming out of the ground would you estimate?
Well, they're looking to actually start the mass grading of the site in June of this year. They're looking to close the property sometime between now and March 2nd. And after the mass grading, they would start to do the underground contracting, put in all of the pipes, gutters, things of that nature. And then they would immediately start the multifamily development at the same time that they're putting infrastructure in the rest of the entire site where the single family and townhomes would be located.
Okay. Well, it sounds very exciting. I'm very excited about it. It's been a long time coming on this thing. I tell you, we fought hard to get this land back from Atlanta, and it was an uphill battle. Artie, you've done a great job, moving this thing forward. We had some bumps in the road in the beginning, but looks like we got some traction now. We're making good progress. So great job.
Thank you, Councilman Carn. I appreciate it.
Any other questions for Mr. Jones? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
That was all 4 of you. Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. Item 7F, Mayor and City Council's consideration and authorizing a resolution to designate a public access street as an alleyway from Harvard to Columbia.
Thank you, Mayor. We're about to close on a piece of property to sell to a developer. During negotiations, we promised that we would be able to provide public access to the property from Harvard Avenue. There is a street, or there's a road, a public access area that links Harvard to Columbia Avenue, but we found out during our research of the property that it was never actually designated as a public access. So we would like for mayor and council to formally designate this area from Harvard to Columbia Avenue as a public alleyway. In your packet is a survey of the property that we're talking about. And it's really something that should have been done years ago, but it never was. The city had invested a lot of money in this alleyway by putting in brick pavers and making it really nice. And we, it's about time that we've, would actually designate this as a public access or a public alleyway. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Jones?
I have a question. Are we going to designate any signage at all for the alleyway?
As for right now, the only signage that we have along the alleyway is on the Columbia Avenue side, which says one-way traffic. It leads from south to north. What type of signage were you considering? Or
if we're going to designate it an alley, we could just, we could name it and call it an alley and have a signage indicating that it's an alley, which it's kind of neat for a little city, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, we can move in that direction. That's something that I would bring back before the city council to find out what the name of that alleyway would be. And maybe it might be a contest or something where we would have the school kids to name it or something. That's just a suggestion, but we can do whatever you guys want to do. It's our alleyway, the city's alleyway.
Any other questions for Mr. Jones?
No, just a thought.
I'm going to move to approve that we do the transfer, or the renaming, I should say.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor, Councilman Carn, you're muted.
Aye.
Aye.
Heard all four of you again. Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous.
Thank you.
Item 7G, City Council's consideration and authorizing the mayor to execute a resolution to abandon city property.
Okay. This particular item, 56 acres is currently under contract to be sold to Southeast Capital. 3 of the parcels that are being sold is actually in the name of the College Park Business and Industrial Development Authority. The other parcels are in the name of the city of College Park. For us to complete the transaction, we need to transfer the property's interest into the name of the College Park Business and Industrial Development Authority. This property will close sometime before March 2nd, 2022. I'm requesting that the city council authorize the mayor to sign a resolution to transfer the property from the College Park, from the city of College Park to the College Park Business and Industrial Development Authority. Are there any questions?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Item 7H, consideration of an action on a Keep College Park Beautiful Advisory Commission ordinance. Ms. Echevarria.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members.
Good evening.
For our last workshop session, I made the necessary modifications with the legal team, and it is actually in ordinance form. I do see a small typo on line item 41. Instead of form, we're going to use formed, newly city formed, Keep America Beautiful affiliation. So I've sent that typo to legal to modify. Any questions in regards to the newly formed ordinance to establish the organization?
Yes, Melissa, I had, and you and I had communicated on this on line 61 on the next page. The city will hire the executive director, and that's always seems vague to me. I think you had several possibilities that you expressed to me. I like the last one of that you would contract out for so many hours, but council may want to discuss that. That it always bothers me when it just says the city. I'd like to be a little more explicit than that.
What packet page are we on, Councilman Clay?
I'm sorry, we're on packet page 117.
Thank you, sir.
Section 3, line 60, 61.
Does it make sense since this falls under, I mean, this is essentially a public works driven thing that either the director of public works or the board itself would vote on the executive director?
I think it does make a lot of sense.
I mean, either or. I'm just tossing it out.
Yeah, it's just saying the city is seem to be awfully.
There's a lot to say when you say the city.
Yeah,
You can get more precise. So that's what you're looking for. Ms. Echevarria, are you comfortable with the idea of the director of public works hiring that executive director?
Sure.
Is everyone else comfortable with that idea?
I would be fine with that along with the board. I think it'd be good.
How about in consultation with the board, the director of public works?
yeah, because she's on the board.
Right.
Or approval by the board, something. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I agree.
Any other questions, concerns about the ordinance?
I think it's great.
Yeah, I agree.
You were talking about names from each of the councilmen. Do you have any idea when you're looking for those names?
No, the goal is to write a job description, of course, and to post the position online. And again, the goal for me is to really just get us going and established until June 30th. Since we're in the thick of budget season, we will be modifying the budget to include that position and to fund that position fully. But time is against us. Spring and summer is upon us. So the faster that we move and designate, I can try to get the ball rolling. We're trying to get some community outreach activities done with the youth. Spring is right around the corner. So the goal is just really get the ordinance adopted so we can get someone in here at least part-time and then work on the budgetary constraints with the full-time position and working along with the board and their recommendations.
But the names from the council people, you know, the appointments from the council.
So you'd probably want those next meeting if you want to get ramping up and going.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking.
But I couldn't do that until we had this.
Until we had the
adopted.
ordinance, right?
Correct. The ordinance gives it power and then the appointments.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So
one thing I wanted to add, and I'm really excited about this. This was a great idea. In terms of our state legislator, I would recommend we look towards State Senator Nan Orrock. The reason being, she has the greatest amount of College Park in her district out of all of the senators, all of the House members. She additionally has the 3 state routes within her district. Camp Creek from the airport to Washington Road, Roosevelt Highway. She has a good majority of that throughout the city, as well as Old National Highway all the way down to 285. So, and obviously she's the most senior member of our delegation. She served since 87, 35 years. So if anybody's got some influence, it's going to be her. So, and Mayor, I would suggest that perhaps you reach out to her and make the ask. I mean, we have a long-standing relationship, but I think it'd be more appropriate if you reached out to her.
if the body so feels that that's the person we should reach out to, I'm good with that.
I think that's an excellent idea.
I do too. I think it's an excellent idea, an excellent person with, you know, with.
She's
the knowledge.
wonderful. All right. Well, we need an ordinance first. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mayor?
Yes,
Mayor,
sir.
For benefit of the minutes, I think we now are specifying that it is we're going to change the wording in the ordinance to say that it will be appointed by the director of public works in consultation with the board. Correct?
That was my understanding. And if there is any ambiguity as to that, do you want to take another vote?
No, that's my understanding.
Just, okay. Everyone understands that to be, because there was consensus on that.
Right. I was trying to eliminate that problem
Right.
coming up.
I
next
appreciate
meeting.
it. Thank you, Councilman Clay. So we are tasked with finding our commission members by next by next meeting. So everyone keep that in mind, and hopefully we'll get a great group of folks who will help us keep College Park beautiful. Ms. Echevarria, thank you so much for all of your efforts in this and in bringing this together.
Amen. Thank you.
7I, consideration of an action on a request for approval to apply for a sub-grant award grant funds for Inveris simulator and virtual reality trainer. Interim Chief McCrary, how are you this evening?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing well, thank you. May I ask a question? So we've already received the approval for the grant. Yes? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Interim Chief?
Well, I had one for the chief and she answered it, but it needs to be possibly, I don't know whether it needs to be clarified in this meeting or not, but on packet page 139, that section 2 of the form, there's a box whether to check out how you want to handle either electronics or check. And that box has not, neither of those boxes have been checked, and it's really up to the discretion of the finance department, I assume. And I just wanted to point that out. So Althea, if you want to weigh in here or weigh in later, if the council is in agreement with that, get the appropriate box check.
Yes, we would elect to receive the funds electronically.
Oh, there you are.
I think that makes sense. That makes it easier. So I can, if council approves, I can go ahead and mark that when I sign.
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Councilman Carn, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Aye.
All right. Councilman Gay?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. Item
Thank you,
7.
Chief.
Mayor Council.
Thank you. Item 7J, consideration of an action on a request for approval of update to the city's driveway apron ordinance. We have illustrations in here this time, gentlemen. Is Mr. Myers here? Is there someone else going to be handling this?
I see Mr. Myers.
Oh, there he is. There he is. Hi, Mr.
Good
Myers. How
evening,
are you?
Mayor, Council. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We sure can.
All right. So anyway, as far as we have franchise agreements with AT&T. We also have franchise agreements with something happened to my with Comcast and so with that being said, that they come and get a request from the engineering department to work in our right of ways. And so if there's any activities that happen in the city right of ways, they come back to us to we go to them to make sure that they repair anything in our right of ways that are damaged. And they've been very responsive in the last few years to those damages, especially the gas company.
Does anyone have any questions about the driveway apron ordinance?
I just have a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Councilman Gay.
I saw the illustrations, but I was just curious. Did you say that they weren't to put an aggregate in the y'all call it a gully? Did you say that, or is that just too hard to say?
Well, they shouldn't be out into the street anyway. They should stop.
No, but I thought we gave you directions to put it. I even thought it was unanimous, and I read it today, and I was like, this guy, he just won't put the language in there.
Well, okay, if the language isn't there, that's one thing. I don't, hold on, we don't, what are you looking for, Councilman Gay, in particular?
I tell you what, nothing. Let's just do it the way it is, okay? I retract my statement. It's fine. Nothing.
Is there anything? Is there anything missing from anyone else's perspective about this particular ordinance that needs to be?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Go ahead, Councilman Clay.
Yes. Okay. First off, piggybacking on what Councilman Gay said, I think Jackson feels it's covered by, I'm putting words in his mouth, but it's covered by the diagram. The diagram shows that you don't put it into it shows exactly how you do it with the gutter as well as the driveway. And I think that's probably why he didn't put it in the language. But my issue is what he was addressing at the beginning. I said a comment that on line 26 on packet page 143, which is where the diagram is, I propose that the wording, and I keep bringing this up, we got elevation in, I brought that up last time, but responsibility for fixing the apron, if somebody breaks it, who is not the owner, doing utility work or street work or whatever else, should be with the city. And I know Jackson, I know what you said to me was that, or actually it was Danielle Matricari,
yes,
one of our city attorneys. She was reluctant to have the city take on responsibility for that. So if AT&T comes along and rips up my apron, it ought to be the responsibility of the city to make sure that AT&T does the repair. The city is huge. The homeowner is small. The homeowner does not have much leverage. I understand what Jackson said, that they've been good about doing it. They're good about doing it today. They may not be good about doing it tomorrow. 5 years from now, I don't want to have somebody else, it won't be me, but 5 years from now, somebody else have to change the ordinance because AT&T is breaking people's driveway. And forgive me, I'm not picking on AT&T. I'm not saying that they're inclined to do this. I just needed an example. It could have been, I don't know, the gas company.
Comcast.
Yeah, but I can tell you that we have had on Lyle several years ago, we had the gas company come through and put in new underground piping, and they bored it right through the sewers. And they blocked off some people's private sewers. And we got that fixed. But this is not the sewer, this is on the surface. But I think the city has to stand up for the citizens and not leave it up to them to complain to AT&T that they broke their sidewalk. They should be able to, or their driveway apron, they should be able to go to the city and say, hey, I'm not responsible for fixing the apron in this case. I think we should take on that legal responsibility, which Danielle is reluctant to have us do. So I'd like to hear what you guys think.
I'm with Danielle. But go ahead, gentlemen.
Sounds like a good attorney, Mayor.
I would like to go back to my original point. I'm on package page 143.
Councilman Gay, I'm happy to can we just finish up this conversation and then we can go to your point, back to your point? Can we just get an answer? Councilman Clay is looking for input from the rest of you about how you feel about this particular issue. And then we can, I just want to see if we can tie that one up. What are your thoughts? Okay. What are your thoughts, Councilman Gay?
On his comment or my comment?
Yes, sir. His comment.
I have no thought.
All right. Councilman Carn, Councilman Allen.
I think the city has the power to make sure that AT&T or Comcast or whoever gets it done.
I agree. We got to protect the residents at the end of the day. So,
yeah. I mean, if the resident doesn't know who to go to and who are they going to go to, they're going to come to the city.
You're right. They come to the city, and that's why we have an agreement with the city to hold the city harmless between all the franchise agreements. And they call, we get called just like you get called, and then we turn around and call the whoever the provider is, College Park Power. If College Park Power did it, we call College Park Power, and they come out and see to it that it gets fixed. That's why we have those franchise agreements to hold a city harmless.
All right.
So are we
So-
going to put the language in or not, guys?
I think we need it.
I do too, just to make sure it's, just put it in and it'll still be done with the citizens and, you know, it might be the trash people that notice it and let the city know and, you know, the city has the power. I mean, if I called as a citizen to AT&T, said, hey, you know, my driveway's, you know, needs repair, it might take them 2-3 weeks, maybe even a month. If the city calls them, they'll get it done right away. So.
Mr. Denmark, any issues on your, and from your perspective?
No, ma'am.
What do you want the language to include, Councilman Clay?
What I would like it to say is, starting on line, I guess it's 25, the duty to reconstruct a driveway apron to accommodate a change in elevation or damage due to city work lies with the city. That doesn't mean they have to do the reconstruction, but it does mean they have to get it done. So instead of saying elevation lies with the city, it would be elevation, comma, or damage due to utility work, comma, lies with the city.
Is everyone clear on the amendment?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Councilman Gay?
All right, I'm not asking for the consensus of the body. I'm making a statement. On package page 143, just please tell me if I was having my driveway report, where on this document does it tell me not to pour concrete in the spillway?
It says curb and gutter.
Well, one of the things you might want to clarify with that, and Jackson, you know, I know, you know, you're a, you know, working guy, you understand public works, but there are a lot of people that may not understand curb and gutter in that sense. They may be thinking about their gutters on the side of their house in one sense. So the plainer we make it, you know, the more we cover ourselves. If it's easy enough for everybody to understand, you know, the clearer we have it, the easier it's going to be understood by everybody. So it probably wouldn't hurt.
I think where, if I can help Councilman Gay, it doesn't actually say that you can't pour concrete in the gutter or the spillway. It says what it's supposed to look like when you're done. That's what the picture says. So that thing that says 3-inch flare along there, that's sitting. That is, if I read the diagram right, that is the spillway. And it shows that it's supposed to have a little bump that's 1.5 inches high, so water from the spillway doesn't get up into the driveway. So the bottom line is they rebuild the spillway. They are going to pour concrete in the gutter, but it's going to be to that specification. That's the way I read the diagram. I could be wrong.
Oh, okay. When I originally brought this out, all I was simply saying was, just don't pour concrete in the city spillway. I didn't say tell us how to build it. Just don't put an aggregate, which could be asphalt or concrete, in the city spillway. They seem to want to extend it out. I guess what I'm asking is the diagram is if you have never built the apron, but I'm just saying don't pour concrete in the spillway. And I just, if you want me to process that from this, that's fine. Because that's fine.
I could understand how somebody, and Roger, I can understand how somebody that doesn't have any technical expertise could miss that with the diagram. So if there's even a second diagram of just the piece of curb here, and it says, do not pour any concrete into the spillway, more or less. And the reason being, it would block the water flow and potentially flood someone's yard or something like that. where, you know, it's just a couple more sentences and that would clear it up if someone didn't understand the technical schematics here. So
You wouldn't let anyone do this work without technical expertise, right? You'd have to pull a permit for this, would you not?
That's correct.
I mean, and that person would have to show certain level of capability, whether they're, I mean, the business license, perhaps bonded.
you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
Well, I'm just saying that this is, I don't want to get too far in the weeds here. And if the body wants to add a sentence, then go ahead and add a sentence.
But if you look at the minutes, we directed, the body directed him to add that simple sentence, and it's still missing.
Councilman Gay, what is your proposal to add? What's the sentence that you would like to add?
Do not place aggregate, concrete or asphalt in the city spillway upon the construction or maintenance of a driveway apron.
I think that's a pretty good idea. I think that's pretty good because if I'm getting my driveway poured and the contractor goes and gets the permit and he gets down to the spillway, and I say, hey, you know, I'm gonna bounce coming out of this driveway. He's gonna pour cement in the gutter so that when I come out, it's nice and smooth.
He may
Okay,
rebuild the gutter.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just get, I shifted your words just a little bit so we could, so it could, if you wanted to say aggregate concrete or asphalt shall not be placed in, let me finish that.
The city spillway or waterway of the street. Man, people have a tendency to pour concrete because they want to.
I understand that. I'm just trying to get I'm just trying to get the language. I'm just trying to get the language.
Yeah.
Spillway, waterway.
In the cities.
Or gutter.
Gutter. Or I don't know if it's called a gutter. I think it's called.
Just say all three. Say all three that way.
Okay. Aggregate concrete or asphalt shall not be placed in the city spillway, waterway, or gutter.
Yes.
That
should do it.
Okay. All right.
But ma'am, may I say that our public works director who's on this call is from stormwater. That's their expertise. I think they understand that we're just trying to prevent, we want to maintain the integrity of our sewer system and our stormwater. I mean, that's all this was.
Right. I mean, I'm just trying to get the language. That's all. So we've got 2 amendments to this, right? Councilman Clay's in regard to the damage due to utility work, and then the aggregate concrete and asphalt not being placed in city spillway, waterway, or gutter. Is there anything else that needs to be added to this ordinance?
Councilman Gay,
Sir?
I would just suggest one slight placed or poured.
Or poured, yeah, because they poured.
That way there's no misunderstanding and people will understand it. And I say this because of experience. You would be shocked what is obvious to some people. At 2900 Camp Creek, we lost an entire building because someone, instead of dialing 911 when they had a kitchen fire, they called the leasing office at 8 p.m. at night. And we lost the building in those minutes from them trying to reach the leasing office and then realizing maybe I should dial 911. The next meeting we had, I told Gerald Walker, I said, listen, on the television screen, we need signage, full page that says, in case of any type of fire, dial 911. And he said, well, I don't know if we need to place a sign like that on the television. Isn't that obvious? I said, you would be very surprised. It's obvious to us, but let's make it clear. So that's just an example where we would assume everybody would understand that, but we can't.
Are we all clear now?
Yes.
Are we clear? Do we have enough language in this ordinance?
I hate to beat this horse to death.
I was going to ask, can you confirm what the second one was for my records, the aggregate concrete one?
Aggregate concrete, gentlemen, correct me if I am incorrect. Aggregate concrete or asphalt shall not be placed or poured in the city spillway, waterway, or gutter.
upon the maintenance and or repair.
What?
Upon the upon the maintenance and or repair. You know, I guess.
Upon the maintenance, or is that at the end of the sentence?
Yeah, section 1613, driveway, apron, maintenance or repair. So while you repairing your maintenance, do not pour concrete or place concrete in that spillway.
That's what I just said.
I think we're all good.
Let me ask one question, guys. What if in fixing their driveway, they have to actually rebuild the spillway or gutter or whatever you want to call it? Then they'll be pouring concrete in that area if they've cut it out.
Councilman Clay, listen, the city owns that right away. We want it clear at all times. We don't want to.
I'm totally in agreement. I've even had the same problem in my ward. I'm not disagreeing with you, Roderick. I want it to be clear.
So as a moot point, we never want to retard the flow of stormwater to our stormwater systems. And so we don't want any aggregate of concrete.
I totally agree. So
Councilman Clay is putting forth the
saying, guys, what you're really saying is you do not want to change the elevation of the gutter. That you do not want to do anything in this process to impede the gutter, to change its elevation so it doesn't match up with the gutter on either side of the driveway. That's what you're trying to say.
That's not what I'm trying to say. We said what I was trying to say. The gutter, the spillway is ours. They shouldn't touch it.
I give up.
Okay,
Go ahead,
okay.
whatever you want.
Councilman Clay, is there additional language that needs to be put in the ordinance that you're proposing?
The only thing I'm saying, Mayor, is
language. Language. I'm asking for specific language.
So as not to change the elevation of the gutter. Just add that in. Then if they have to report, they report. They just don't change the elevation, because there will be a time when they're going to rebuild that gutter. And that's what's in the drawing in the document. That's all.
So as not to change the elevation of the gutter, where does that go?
After you've said you shall not pour concrete or aggregate into the gutter, so as not to change the elevation. In other words, it gives the reason for not pouring it into the gutter, which is what Councilman Gay and I violently agree on.
Aggregate concrete or asphalt shall not be placed or poured in the city spillway, waterway, or gutter so as not to change the elevation of the gutter.
Amen.
All right, everybody good? Is there a motion with those changes? That second part and the first part in regard to damage of Councilman Clay.
I'll move or second, whatever.
Okay, Councilman Allen moved. Is there a second? Clay, second? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Heard all four of you. That is unanimous. We have a public hearing. Ms. Moore, can you let people know how they can participate?
Yes, ma'am. They can head over to www.collegeparkga.com. In the top in the top of the website, in the green, click on Council Meetings. You're going to scroll down in the middle of the page to click the link to this meeting. Once you're in this meeting, raise your hand to be acknowledged.
All right. Who's going to be handling the conversation regarding this? I don't think it's
I will be.
Oh, Ms. Washington. Hello. How are you? Good evening.
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks.
Yeah. So if everyone remembers, this is kind of the final piece to our food truck saga, if you will. We did pass the licensing amendment to the for the business license section of this, and this is for the zoning section of this. So this would permit food truck parks specifically. With those, includes some regulations for food truck parks in there, and it permit them in C2 and M1. So those were kind of the areas that we had discussed previously.
Any questions or comments from Ms. Washington?
I've got a couple, and I guess a couple of them refer to the zoning before this came up. Couple of questions I got from some of our restaurants. I guess when you guys were putting this together, I'm assuming you got together some kind of committee to discuss this thing. Would I be right?
Yes, it's been an ongoing discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were any restaurateurs involved on that discussion or committee?
No, we did not have a specific committee for food truck parks.
Well, again, the issue that I got from some of our restaurant owners were that they weren't involved in the discussion at all. Now that's neither here nor there. You know, the horse is already out the barn pretty much. But you know, in the future, when you have something involved in this type of a thing, you want to involve the folks that have skin in the game to begin with. Now, you know, food trucks, I think it's a great idea. Now, according to this, you got two zoning areas. You got C2 and M1. Is that right?
Correct.
So their food trucks would be allowed anywhere in a C2 or M1, or only at a designated food truck park only? Which one is it?
So it's actually both. So the licensing ordinance that was passed in December, which Councilman Carn, unfortunately, before you joined us, that allows food trucks to operate in the city. So they can have a food truck within the city, but there's parameters around that. So they can't be in the city right of way. If they're operating private property, they have to have the private property's permission. There's time restraints, and then there's distance requirements too. So they can't be within a certain distance of a restaurant.
Right.
Now, this ordinance, sorry.
And I understand. And looking at that ordinance, one of the issues I had with that, which was an issue that came up with some of our restaurant owners, were the distance requirement. I understand it was within 200 feet of a restaurant. Is that right?
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Now, the issue some of the restaurateurs had with that, they basically said that, you know, that's basically 3 or 4 car lengths from their door. And in terms of fairness, they felt like that distance should be a little bit greater had they had some input in that. And I would tend to agree, you know, 200 feet, that's such a short distance from the door of a restaurant for a truck to be able to pull up 200 feet next to a door of a restaurant that has a significantly higher investment in our city. In terms of fairness, I mean, you know, I would have taken a second look at that and made that distance a little bit further where it would be a fair situation for our restaurants. I mean, you know, so
sure,
if that's something that you all want to revisit. I wasn't on council when we passed that, but 200 feet, if I were a restaurant owner, I'd have a big problem with 200 feet. You know, now maybe 500 feet or 700 feet away from any restaurant, you know, so be it. But I don't think any business would allow for that right there at their doorstep. So,
Councilman Carn, do you have questions about the food truck park?
These are questions about the food truck. I have another question about the food truck park as well, but this involves that. No, it's not specific to this, but I wanted to point that out. And I think it was something that we overlooked, perhaps. I don't know, I could be wrong, but hey, I wasn't on council, but the restaurant owners came to me with that issue. They weren't aware of it because they said, and I don't know if this is true, they said that they weren't involved in any of the deliberations at all, if there was a process at all where they could hear from our restaurants. So that's all I had on that, essentially. And if we want to take a look at that, if it's the body's pleasure at some later date, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to look at that distance. So that's all I had. But
does anyone have any comments about the food truck park?
Yes.
We're here to talk about the food truck parks.
I do.
All right, Councilman Gay, go right ahead.
Yes, ma'am. On package page 148, 6.37, I have 2 questions. Does the Fulton County Environmental Health Department have to inspect the food truck park, Nicolette? And 2, are you saying that they have to put a permanent, can you elaborate what you mean by sewer taps? Because when I think of sewer, is that for the bathroom or is that for the truck disposing potable water?
That would only be for the bathroom. So just for what we define as a permanent restroom would mean that there's water and sewer to that restroom. So it's not a portable restroom. And the first question, each individual food truck will be required to have a permit from the county to operate in the county.
So that, I mean, I'm saying, is that something that we control at our park, or we got to assume that they have? Do our inspectors come over and look at that on their truck or in our park?
Right, our code enforcement inspectors could, but they will have to have a license in the city as well to operate at that food truck park. So that licensing agreement that we passed in December would cover that.
Okay.
They would have to have that license.
Any other questions, Councilman Gay?
No, man.
All right, Councilman Allen.
I was reading through here and talk about food truck parks, and I pull a food truck in there and I get permission to get the permits and everything. How long can I stay in that food truck park? Can I leave my truck in there a day, a week, a month? Can it stay there all year long? Is there a specific time period?
That is a good question, Councilman Allen. We are under the impression that they would move every day. However, there's nothing against them leaving their truck there if it's not operating. So they could, I guess, leave it parked in one of those spots.
And what if I leave it there for
time? But that would be, at their own risk that they're.
I didn't know if
we
we wanted to set a time limit on it where they had to come back and get another permit to be there longer than X amount of days or something. I don't know. I just see them parking there for a year and all of a sudden grass is growing up underneath of it. And it's,
Well, it would be different. They couldn't just be parked anywhere in the city.
No.
Right. This would be specifically at the food truck park. And that would be the responsibility of the food truck park owner to maintain that property. So that would be, just like if they don't maintain their property for any other purpose, we would enforce that. Hopefully that makes sense.
Any other questions, Councilman Allen?
No, I just see them leaving them there and them getting, dirty over time and need to be cleaned and stuff. So I didn't know if there was any regulations on how long they were there.
I think it's a good point. Councilman Carr?
Yeah, I agree with Councilman Allen. We need to put some type of regulation in there. That's going to keep us, set us up to be wide open for abuse. And there are going to be some people that will leave those trucks there overnight. I would say no overnight parking. The whole concept of a food truck is so that they can be mobile. Again, if they're going to be overnight and they can be there consecutive days, then we need to start talking about rent again, because that would be unfair to our restaurants who are, they're static and they pay rent. If these trucks can park free of charge in the city indefinitely, then again, it just comes to an issue of fairness, in my opinion. So I would say no overnight parking. If you're a mobile food truck, you set up and you can be there from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. After 10 p.m., maybe give them an hour to break down. And, this isn't a campground, in my opinion. I don't think it should be. So
no, but then if they stay there long, hey, I'm not going to leave my truck here by itself. So then they'll be sleeping in the truck. So,
Well, and I have free rent, essentially.
Well, wait a minute, isn't the food truck park owned by somebody, and aren't they going to rent the spaces?
Yes.
And so they wouldn't allow somebody to park in one of their rental spaces without paying rent, would they? I agree with the concerns about being there all the time and maybe turning it into a shambles with dirty trucks and banged up things and looking at like a disaster. I think we need to do something about that. But I would think it's partly self-policing by the fact that the person who owns it, we're not talking about dedicating city property to these food parks,
right,
or truck parks.
And Mayor, I just had one final question for me. Is there any regulations on signage for the food truck park? Nicolette?
The city ordinance would apply. So they would have to follow the city ordinance as far as signage goes. So it'd be for a ground sign or for a wall sign. I don't know where they would have a wall sign. Maybe on the bathroom, I guess. They build a structure, but they would have to follow the city sign ordinance.
For C2, for community business?
Right, if they're in, yes.
And signage on the vehicle itself, I'm assuming there's no regulation for that.
We do not have a regulation for that.
Okay, well, just keep this kind of stuff in mind. I think this can get popular pretty fast. And before you turn around, you'll have, truck signs for political candidates with their signs painted all over these trucks, and they can stay overnight and, just be prepared for anything.
Any other questions for Ms. Washington? All right, hearing none. Ms. Moore, can you let people know how they can participate in this public hearing one more time?
Yes, ma'am. They can go to www.collegeparkga.com. At the top of the webpage, click on government, scroll down to council meetings. Once you're on that page, you're going to scroll to the link for this meeting. Click the link to access this meeting. Once you're in this meeting, raise your hand to be acknowledged.
All right, thank you so much. At this time, I will declare the public hearing open. And if you wish to speak, please go ahead and use the raise hand button. It might be at the bottom of your screen. It might be on the right, depending on the format of your Zoom link. But we will give folks a moment to participate. Again, just click the raise hand button once you are in the meeting. Mr. Hicks, I don't see anyone at this point. Do you?
No, I do not.
All right.
I'm looking, but no one as of yet.
We'll give people a few more moments.
Councilman Gay,
Yes.
I was going to ask if you could turn it down just a little bit.
All right. At this time, it does not appear that anyone wishes to participate in this public hearing. I will deem it closed. Is there a motion?
I had a comment. Should I make the motion and then make it during comments?
Do whatever you'd like, sir.
Well, I guess I want to influence the motion. I think some good points were brought up by the other council people in the discussion. Should we require that food trucks not park overnight, period? That would solve the problem of the grass. That would solve the problem of someone taking a defunct vehicle and towing it to the food truck park and then just parking it there and not being able to drive it away and have a dilapidated vehicle there, et cetera, et cetera. In other words, should we change the ordinance to add that in?
Thoughts of the body? It seemed like there was a fair amount of consensus that
I think
overnight
so.
parking was not
no,
where we wanted to head.
Yeah, no overnight parking.
Any issues with that on private property, Mr. Denmark?
No, ma'am, we can certainly regulate overnight parking even on private property, since we're granting something in terms of a food truck park that didn't exist previously.
All right, thank you, sir.
One other question, and it may be in here, in terms of the trash. Now, I guess everyone's responsible for their individual trash, but obviously at the end of the day, I'm assuming College Park Sanitation is going to be picking up the 6-yarders or whatever, wherever their trash is supposed to go in this park. Are we responsible for that? And I guess, is that charge factored into the license that they have to get from us?
I think they're required to have an enclosed dumpster, aren't they?
They are.
Yes, they are required because it is on private property, but they are required to have an enclosed dumpster.
Okay.
I had asked that question before and he said he was going to enclose it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I will make a motion to approve the ordinance with the change that I suggested, that no overnight parking should be allowed.
All
I'll
right, is
second
there a
that.
second? Thank you, Councilman Carn. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I heard all four of you. Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. Item 9A is consideration of an action on a request for approval to install new speed cushions at 15 predetermined locations throughout the city. Ms. Miller or Mr. Wait,
go
hold
ahead.
on. I'm sorry. Is it Ms. Miller or Interim Chief McCrary? Who's going to be?
That should be the chief
All
and
right.
also Patterson,
Major Patterson.
Major
All right.
Patterson.
All right. Any questions for either one of them? I heard the word motion starting to come out of your mouth, Councilman Carn, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, it was a little premature, but if we got a presentation, go right ahead.
I'm not sure that there's a presentation, but Chief? Anything on your end?
Nothing on our end unless somebody has some questions.
Okay. Any questions from the body?
Well, a couple of issues. Chief, I went out with Patterson earlier today and we looked at some spaces, some places in Ward 2 that needed speed humps as well. Now, I understand I was told that essentially he inquired with every council member if speed humps were needed in their district. And apparently last year when this was done, our council member said there were none in Ward 2 that required speed humps. However, we went today and there are a couple of places that do require speed humps. Patterson, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have 3 in Ward 2 that need to be placed. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to put that out there. Additionally, we want to make sure that when the speed humps are placed, that we've got the same signage along the roads. I see signage along the roads on the north end of town that say speed hump ahead, literally on the asphalt of the road. So I do not see that for along the Herschel Road speed bumps or whatever have you. I know we have more speed bumps along those lines, and Councilman Gay, if you want to chime in, I don't know how much signage we want on the roads, but I definitely can tell you in the Ward 2 areas, before each and every speed hump, I want the same signage that I saw, I think on, I forget what road it was, but it was in Ambrose, it was in your district.
There's signage on Rugby, as I recall. I mean, there's a sign on the road. One point of information, when we originally ordered the speed humps, they didn't get them with the diagonal embedded in the rubber itself. And that was a concern because they're black, the road is black, and you're coming along and you would hit them. Since then, we've insisted, and I believe the order is, I went through the line items in the order, and it looked like that we had the diagonals, the V-shaped, the inverted V, if you will, on the speed humps itself. That eliminates, in my opinion, the necessity to have that lettering on the road, which I expect is expensive and time consuming to put in. And if you have it on the hump itself, it doesn't come off. It's embedded in the rubber. And on top of that, then you can have a sign on the side of the road if you want that says speed hump ahead or something to that effect. And I think originally I thought we were going to get it embedded in the rubber, and that didn't happen. So that's a historical reason why the writing actually got written on the road there.
Understood. And I don't want it on every one of my speed humps. There's one in particular where we've had several accidents that I would like some signage on the road on that particular one. The rest of them I think are fine with signage on the right of way.
Well, Councilman Corn and others, I think sign is appropriate however we post it, because I have gotten 1 or 2 complaints that we didn't post a notice. That's the only thing I can recall.
I know one of the other concerns had been, and I think the ones on Herschel have been filled in, that there are some speed humps that leave space for presumably emergency vehicles to get through, but it's also passable for conventional vehicles as well.
And I believe staff is right now looking at the possibility of filling in all those gaps. So in other words, don't put down speed humps that are made out of asphalt. Put down the rubber speed humps, but fill in the gaps in the center. That way, if in the future we want to move the speed humps, all you have to do is take out the bolts, pry them loose, and move them, and just scoop out the asphalt that's right in between in the gaps. And I think what I had suggested anyhow, was that we might not do that for all the speed humps, but where it's a problem, and it is a problem on Rugby, and it's certainly a problem on Herschel Road because people straddle the double line and come right at you in your lane. They need to be filled in, and that's being looked at right now.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns on this item?
Mayor and Council, it's Major Patterson. Just wanted to bring your attention to the add-ons that I sent the latter part of the week. Councilman Clay, to your point about the potential fill-in location that you asked about.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So that document I sent identifies 4 locations and potentially 2 others where that those speed cushions could be filled in. Now, certainly if you all wanted to identify other ones, like on this list that I've sent, I did not identify Rugby. However, if you wanted Rugby to be one of those ones that was filled in, that certainly could be the case. In addition, the quotes that you all have are for the 15 speed cushions in the original packet. And then again, in the add-on, I added in the several other quotes, 15 cushions with gaps or without gaps, as well as 16 cushions with gaps or without gaps from the manufacturer rubber form. And also from Miss Melissa in Public Works. Public Works gave us a quote by doing it with asphalt, the entire speed cushions in asphalt with 16 cushions with gaps or without gaps. And it's my understanding, Miss Melissa, if I'm wrong, correct me, that in the event that they would need to be moved or whatever removed, Public Works would just need to just grind them down and to be that simple. And if you're looking at the quotes and being cost effective, it would be most cost effective with the 16 gaps, with 16 cushions without gaps at $35,000 compared to the other amounts, quotes from the rubber form. But again, all quotes are going to be increased because of the additional 2 more speed cushions that Councilman Khan and I identified today, making it a total of 18 speed cushions.
Understood.
So yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't get back to you on that. I did not understand. I went through it. I spent probably about 45 minutes going through it, and I couldn't quite figure out what was being said. And I just moved on to other things, and I'm sorry I didn't get back. But are you saying that the most cost-effective approach is to build the speed humps the way we do now with rubber, and then fill in the gaps if we want to with asphalt? Is that correct?
No, sir. What I'm saying is if we're looking at all the quotes that we've gotten for all the speed cushions. Let's say we're gonna focus on those 16 speed cushions because we just added 2 more today. What I'm saying is, if the city were to do the project and do it with no gaps, just straight across there, which is one option that we talked about, it would be most cost effective for the city to undertake that endeavor.
Okay, so
And do it with
you're
asphalt.
saying no asphalt.
No, he's saying with asphalt.
Yes,
Isn't
ma'am.
that
The whole asphalt.
So just do it with asphalt. And if we want to make a change, Public Works can grind it down later on. But
And-
it is most cost effective to do a solid asphalt speed hump.
What is the cost difference per speed hump?
I haven't broken it down per speed cushion, Councilman Clay.
Well,
But-
all right, yeah, if just give me the comparison if you do it with cushions and the gaps filled in with asphalt versus cushions versus all asphalt. What's the difference in cost, total cost for a given number of speed humps?
Okay, well, what I have, I don't have that figure of cushions, doing them 16 cushions and then filling them in with asphalt. What I do have is I have two quotes for the 16 cushions. I have, if you do 16 cushions with the gaps from the manufacturer, we're looking at 34,000.
Okay.
We do
Now, what does it cost to do those 16 cushions if you make it all asphalt?
If we do it 16 cushions with gaps from the city is 35. So it's slightly more. However, if we do 16 cushions with no gaps at all from the manufacturer, the cost is almost $50,000, $49,500. If we
Major
do
Patterson, I'm confused now because I thought you said the
Yeah.
most cost-effective method was to do this
Yes,
through
ma'am.
Public Works with solid.
Yes, ma'am. If we
Speed
do
humps.
it, it's all solid with no gaps.
How much
So-
does that cost?
$35,700.
$3,570,
I mean, $35,700.
but it's $34,000 to get the rubber ones with gaps. Is that what you're saying?
If we do, yes, ma'am. What I'm saying is, if we do the rubber form, 16 cushions with the gaps, it's 34,000. Right? If we do the 16 cushions from rubber form with no gaps, it's almost 50,000, it's 49,400. But if we do 16 cushions with no gaps from the city, it's 35,700.
Okay, so
is-
apples to apples, we're really looking at 49 versus 35.
Yeah.
Is Melissa still on the call, on the Zoom?
Ms. Echevarria, still there? Yep, she's here.
Hi, Melissa. That seems kind of hard to believe that just the asphalt, if we pour asphalt ourselves, that I would have imagined that we'd come out significantly cheaper in my head, like the mayor's thinking, I would imagine, but that's not the case.
No, we factored in, labor and equipment costs. So it would be cheaper if we did not include that with cost in there. But we did include the equipment and how many people it would take to actually do the installation.
Okay.
So I can
okay.
remove that and give you an updated number tomorrow if you would like.
Well, maybe in terms of labor, I'm assuming we're talking about the folks we have employed with us now to handle this.
Yes, the Highways and Streets Division, yes.
Which isn't a factor because we're already paying them that. So maybe you take that out of there since that's a moot point, since it's already paid in. I get what you were doing, and I follow your logic there. But maybe you take the labor out since the labor's paid already, and see if we get a better number, maybe.
If we took, when he said the rubber cushions, the cost of those were all the way across 49,500. That's just for the cushion. That doesn't count, I imagine, does not count our labor of our people to put them down. Is that
No, it does not.
So that cost, if we're going apples to apples,
Yeah,
is
that's-
even higher.
Yeah, your
Right.
labor for our people is probably going to be a wash.
Can I make a suggestion that we pull this together, pull the labor out and bring this back to the
I
next
think it's a
meeting?
great idea.
Amen.
Is anyone
Okay.
willing to make a motion to?
Table, I move to table
All right.
until we get apple to apple data.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Carn.
Carnes, 2 in there as well, or 3 in there.
Yeah. And yeah.
Okay.
The one thing I would caution
Hold on,
people,
hold on.
you know,
Okay, go ahead.
we keep saying, well, we can use our own guys to do this and we can use our own guys to do that. And I understand where Joe's coming from. And if these guys are sitting around not doing anything, but if they are constantly working, if they're fully loaded employees, and now you want to add this on to their responsibilities, you might do that for one task, but we can't keep doing that for everything, or you're going to end up in overtime, or you're going to end up in hiring more employees. So I applaud Joe for saying that, and it's a valid point. But our labor isn't free. It is, sooner or later it's going to show up in overtime or what have you.
But I would imagine it's going to be just about the same to do it in all asphalt that it is for them to drill the holes, put the screws in there, put each one down to make sure they're located right. I would imagine it's going to be pretty close to each other.
Well, all right. So we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Item 9B is consideration of an action on a contract with the city manager.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Gay. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Executive
All right.
session.
Well, hold on. We're rocketing through some things here. City Attorney's report. Anything to report, Mr. Denmark?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, I'd like to update the council on the legislation with regard to the senior homestead tax exemption. Mr. Myers and I met with the lobbyist, Don Bolia, maybe a week or so ago, and we are proceeding apace. We have working with Office of Legislative Counsel. We are working with a sponsor in the General Assembly to kind of shepherd this through. And so just as an update, we are proceeding towards trying to get this done this very session. So I just wanted the council to be aware of where we are.
Good.
All right. Any questions?
Yeah.
All right. Hearing none. City manager's report.
Not this evening, thank you.
All right. Report of mayor and council. We'll work backwards today. Councilman Gay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. This is just my comment. So this is the South Fulton neighbor, the January 12th, great articles. About 6 years, 4 or 5 years ago, there was a debate on to use another city organ. They wanted to use the AJC. It was under a different clerk. And I argued vehemently that the South Fulton neighbor should remain our organ. There's what the president told me one day. He said, Councilman Gay, this is a thankless job. And the reason why I'm saying this is because we couldn't get any information, couldn't get any press about the splash pad. And I guess I didn't get elected because it's so. I guess all I'm just saying is, you know, it'd be nice if we could get some ink from time to time, especially since I fought so vehemently to keep this paper as our organ. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Allen.
Okay. First of all, I just had a question. If we as council, mayor and council, agree to send property to VITA to be sold, and we agree on what it's to be used for, and it goes to VITA, and VITA, it's changed, and now the buyer wants to do something else with the property, does that need to come back to mayor and council, or does they have VITA have the authority to go ahead and prove it, even though they could possibly change it? I mean, let's just say if I was going to.
Well, let's let Mr. Denmark respond.
Generally, it should come back to the mayor and council in that circumstance. I'll take the high road and say, yes, it should come back to mayor and council, because obviously the goal and intention of coming to mayor and council first was to kind of get the parameters and to approve that, and then it goes to VITA. And if if it fundamentally changes from the time it gets from the council to the BIDA board, then that's just not acceptable. It should come back to the council or stay the same throughout the entire process.
Okay. Second of all, I just, it was so delightful and so good to hear from the emergency management team this weekend, letting us know everything ahead of time. I mean, and I'm going to call out the names: Andrea Smalls, Chief Wade Elmore, Melissa, Michael Hicks, Hugh Richardson, Chief McCrary, Marsha Howard. I mean, it was great to have all that information coming to us in advance, because when we get questions, it helps out an awful lot. The last thing, I just got word that, you can order home COVID tests from the government. And my wife did it, and they're already on the way. So you can do that today. And by going into COVID with capital COVID and then test, capital TEST.gov. And if you go in there, you're allowed to get 4 tests per household, and they're shipped out in 7 to 14 days. So 7 to 12 days, excuse me. So if you need home tests, go to that site and order them, and they'll ship out 4. You should have them about a week to 2 weeks. And that's all I had.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. Councilman Carn?
Thank you. Mercedes, let's make sure we have the COVID test availability on our television channel. Is she still there?
I am, and I will.
All right, thank you very much. I do agree with the South Fulton neighbor, the coverage. One of the reasons we had some great coverage, I think a big part of it was Mr. Bill Badowski, who was there for many years with us. College Park was one of his favorites. And a lot of this is about establishing good relationships and strong relationships. So we want to make sure we reach out to the powers that be over there. I don't know when was the last time we sent them a Christmas card. They're the media. So we want to make sure we keep them that we're kept at the forefront of their minds in a positive way, I should say. So let's just make sure we remember, our partners. It makes a big difference. I received the last CAFR that we did, and I understand that the 2021 CAFR isn't quite ready yet. I didn't know if there was a timeline on that or an estimate about when that one would be ready. So I think I received the 2019 and the 2020. So we got the 21 coming, and I'm assuming we won't see the 22 until into 23 of next year. Would that be right? Or is finance here?
Ms. Floyd Bradley?
I will get your answer.
Well, if you could just
there she is. She's unmuted.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
I did receive the CAFR.
Yes, sir.
I think I received the 2019 and the 2020, and
Correct.
I understand the 2021 isn't done yet. I was trying to figure if there was a ballpark estimate, if that one, when that one would be done.
I received the call from Doug Moses from, which is the auditor in charge of our audit. He is expecting that he would have our audit completed by Wednesday, which is tomorrow. So sometime later this week. It's still under review by the partners,
Okay.
but definitely I have to have it submitted by January 31st. We did request an extension, which was approved, a 30-day extension. So we have to submit it by the 31st of January. So I will have it within the next week, but I won't have a hard copy. I can forward the council the electronic copy once I receive it, but the hard copy I probably won't get till right before they are ready to present to the council, which is the second meeting in February. But once I receive the final electronic copy, I can forward it all to the council.
Okay, that'll be great. And I knew usually they would do, somewhere in the beginning of the year there. So that's good to know they're still. Now, this is the audit as well, because I know it sometimes we would have a forensic audit of a particular department or whatever have you, but the CAFR is annual.
Correct.
But this is the same as the audit from that. I know we use that same firm year after year. So this is the same document. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good deal. Couple of other things, still getting my feet wet in here and getting caught up to speed with what's going on. I'd like to, Mercedes, I want to set, some meetings with several of the department heads, some of them who I haven't even met yet, haven't had the pleasure of meeting. So I'm looking forward to that. A lot of things I've been looking at that I've been seeing for the last few years. And I definitely want to, Miss Melissa, with Public Works, I've heard great things. And I know we've spoken a few times, but I'm looking forward to sitting down with you. And I want to ride the city with you as well. So I want to set that up. There are a few other department heads I want to get with and get some clarification on some things and take a look at some things and see where we're at with some stuff, so I can kind of get caught up to speed there. Ken, I agree with you. I'd like to see any material changes, with a BIDA project or proposal. I think that needs to come back to us. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Carn. Councilman Clay.
Let me just follow up on what both Ken and Joe have said, and that is that we should not be expecting significant changes to occur with what's been approved to go to BIDA in BIDA. And so I'm the third person commenting on that for all the right reasons. A couple other things, and that is, I would think that our primary vehicle for communication, the official vehicle for communication, ought to be the city website. Social media is nice. It's constantly changing. Some people use it, some people don't use it, but it is not controlled by the city. We may have a page on it we can put things on, but there's advertisements or all sorts of interactions that add to the complexity. The city website, in my opinion, should be the primary vehicle for communication out on the web. And therefore, I periodically hear, well, we'll put it on FaceTime or we'll put it on whatever. I think it ought to be, and disagree if people disagree with me, but I think the first choice ought to be the city website. To that end, we had a discussion over the weekend, and I think Mercedes is already taking care of it. I don't know whether it's out there yet, but I know the wheels are in motion. When you have a utility emergency, we have a number to call. That number hopefully will be on the website soon, and if it isn't on there now, that utility emergency includes power. And at one time, I believe when we approved the firm to handle it, we were going to also be able to use that same number to report other incidents like a broken water main. Is that still correct, Mercedes? You're muted.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. And is that number, that link or number is going to be out there this week?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So guys, those of you who are out in the audience, if you have a power line down or power outage, or you have water running down the street from a broken water main, go to the city website, find the number, and call that number. And that is all I have.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Clay. I am going to reiterate Councilman Allen's comments about our emergency management team. They did an outstanding job of being prepared. So our citizens were safer this weekend, and they were ready for any challenges that came their way. And that hasn't always been the case. And so one of the things that we've really stepped up is the internal coordination so we serve our residents better. By no means are we perfect, but we're constantly working to build the community that we deserve. And I think this is a huge step in the right direction. I want to thank everyone who met multiple times over the weekend to make sure that the city of College Park was prepared for any weather emergency that came our way. We have opportunities for COVID testing. If you go to fultoncountyga.gov, you can find out where the county is offering testing. Impact Church is offering testing for city employees. Our fire department is offering testing twice a week as well. So if you have any doubts, go out, get tested. There's also plenty of opportunities for vaccination across our community. So I would urge everybody to stay safe and make sure that if you feel sick, get tested. If you haven't gotten that booster, if you haven't gotten the first round of vaccinations, go right ahead and make that happen so we can get through this latest surge and hopefully keep on moving forward as a community. That's all I have. We need to approve the executive session minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you, Councilman Carn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Hearing none, that is unanimous as well. Thanks, everybody. It is 9:32 and we are adjourned. Take care.
Okay, Gerald, I'm gonna stop the feed.